Helen,
And I'm Liz,
and we're sisters
scientists,
and lifelong X-Files fans.
and this is We Want to Believe.
All right, welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. Welcome, colleagues.
Yes.
A few announcements. Something good. In just a couple of weeks, when we watch the episode War of the Coprophages, we are going to have our guest on the show, Mallory Marlowe, who is the author of Love and Other Conspiracies, a best-selling rom-com book that just came out this year. And she's going to watch the episode and talk about it with us, and we'll also talk about her book. So if you're listening to this now, you still have time to read Mallory's book, so you should go out and buy it and read it. Again, it's Mallory Marlowe, and the book's called Love and Other Conspiracies. And while you're buying books, can you just go ahead and buy mine? Mighty Millie Novak, Elizabeth Holden. Go on and do it if you haven't already. And if you have,
Yes.
who else could you buy it for? Maybe you could buy it for
Christmas
someone.
is coming up.
Yeah.
Do you know people that need it as a book?
Probably they need it as a book, as a stand for their coffee cups, as you know, something to use as a fan. And it's multi-purpose, really.
It's a very pretty book. You can buy it to just
As
have
an-
on your
as an
bookshelf even.
objet d'art. Yeah, it's very pretty.
I'm very excited. War of the Coprophages is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to read this book forever. So I'm very excited on both
Yeah,
counts.
I think it's a great pairing. I
Yeah.
didn't want to make Mallory have to watch one of the really grim, sloggy
Yeah.
episodes that we've hit lately. I was like, I'm not going to make her watch The Walk, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And
I can't
again,
wait.
the tagline of the book is "They want to believe," so it's perfect.
It is perfect. Yeah. Oh, awesome. So in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. Today we're talking about the episode Nisei, and so if you just look at when the episode War of the Coprophages is coming up, that is when you will get to hear us talk to Mallory.
Awesome. Did you want to give a less fun announcement?
Yeah, a less fun announcement. I will just say it and I won't cry. Unfortunately, Archer the dog did pass away a few weeks ago, and I just want everyone to know. If you're
Yeah.
interested, I wrote a little memorial for him on the Leaping Hound website for my travel company. So if you go to
Which you
Leaping
should
Hound-
also be following anyway.
Yeah, you should be on
I
there
mean,
anyway and go
yeah.
on our group tours. We're going to Slovenia next summer.
Oh,
There's all
cool.
sorts of ways that you can give me money, and I'm open to all of them. Just imagine yourself. There you are at Lake Bled in Slovenia, laying out in the sun along the lake, reading Mighty Millie Novak. Perfection, right? Anyway, we're doing a writing retreat. We're doing an art retreat. We're doing a signature tour where we're doing all sorts of cool shit, including dinner at the castle.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And if you want to give me money, I can give you my Venmo. You're welcome to
Do
just
it.
give me
Give
money.
them your Venmo, Helen. Give them your Venmo. What if somebody does
Oh,
it?
I think it's like Helen Werner 88 or something like that.
Can we make sure if people are going to give you money, we want to make it easy for them.
That's a good
What's
point.
Helen's Venmo.
Yes, it is Helen-Werner 88.
Helen-Werner 88. So,
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
No other dashes except between Helen and
Right.
Werner. Perfect. Great.
Yep.
That'll make
Yeah.
it easier when people
So
want to give you money.
I don't have a book you can buy yet.
Yet?
I am under contract. And so I'm gonna have to write one at some point.
It's exciting.
I have been doing research for it. I have not done any writing on it. But I
For
have
your
been
sort of book, that's really important, though.
right. Yes. I mean, that's like the thing. So
Yeah, that's kind of the whole deal.
yeah. So right. So that counts.
Yeah, and it's about TB, and
yeah,
it's going to be
called
called
The White
Plague. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this episode at some point in the future, it might be out now. Maybe go search for it.
2026, 2027, I believe.
Okay.
Somewhere
Awesome.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will have to have written it by then.
Yeah. But you can give Helen money now, anytime.
Yes.
Don't
Oh,
let the book
anytime.
not being out stop
No.
you. Yeah, absolutely.
No.
You're just like, hey, I love listening to this podcast. I should probably give Helen some money.
Yeah. I have too much money. Well, you know what? I can help you with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't.
Yeah.
So I have been reading the book Crazy Rich Asians,
Okay, yeah.
which I've just finished. So have been reading. I just very delightful.
Okay, I started it and I didn't love it.
Oh,
I didn't,
really?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just not the right time, not the right mood. I don't know. I just couldn't quite bring myself to care about the characters, and I kept getting bored.
I could see that. It was what I would call a fun beach read.
Okay, I wasn't on a beach. Maybe that was
I mean,
it.
to be clear, I wasn't
Neither
either,
were you.
but it's not one where I would be like, oh my God, you have to read this. But I feel like it was available through Libby, the library app.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for things I really, really want to read to be available on Libby. And now that I've gotten paid, I'm going to buy Love and Other Conspiracies as well and read that.
Nice.
But it was
and you know what's available on Libby is my book. Anyway.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good, like, I need to read something sort of, you know?
I think it was like I was reading it during a time where whatever else was going on, I needed something really like propulsive to like pull me away from like whatever, my phone or whatever social media.
Yeah,
if you hear any weird rustling, I have a plastic bag on my head that I have to make sure stays on it. Not over my head. That's dangerous. Do not do that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's something like that in the episode I have to tell you about.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, mine is just covering the end of my hair because I'm re-dyeing it green. So
yeah.
But it's kind of balanced precariously on top of my head. So there might be some rustling.
It's an objet d'art.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anything else before we talk about Nisei?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we need to talk about Muskrat Love because I listened to it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because you said last we talked on the podcast, neither of us had actually listened to it.
Yes.
And so I listened to it and I had texted Helen it was horrible, and I'd like to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
It was
please.
Really horrible.
No.
It was so much worse than I imagined. It was like less than 4 minutes long, and the minutes passed so slowly because it's a ballad. It's slow. I thought it would be peppy, and it is not peppy. It is very slow.
Really?
I don't know. I will investigate if we're allowed to just like play clips of songs here. If we are, I'm going to clip out a bit of Muskrat Love and put it in a file for Zach to import here because you all need to hear it as well. But don't worry, not the full thing because it is horrible. It's like
it's
this
a ballad?
slow song about these muskrats falling in love. Yeah.
I thought it would be like a happy little, you know,
yeah,
like,
you'd think so. Like it'd be all goofy and fun and peppy.
Right.
But no, it's something like it's got like the cadence of like, do you remember the song where this is actually about two animals falling in love? In Robin Hood, the Disney with the foxes, when they're like him and Maid Marian are like walking around.
Oh, I love that
nighttime.
song.
Yes, it's like that, but terrible.
Oh God.
It's got that like sort of dreamy, slow vibe, but horrible. However bad you're imagining it, it's worse. And people deliberately chose to listen to this.
Oh my God.
I do not understand. It was more of a mystery after I listened to it than before.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? And then there is this song that my kids have been obsessed with. And I hate it more than almost any other song. So I am curious now to listen to Muskrat Love. Yeah. Except no one's going to make me listen to Muskrat Love like 50 times over the next week.
No, because there's no one on earth who wants to listen to Muskrat Love once, let alone 50. I'd like to make you listen to it once.
There is no one on earth that would want to listen to the song 7 Years by Lucas Graham 50 times. But
I don't know what that is.
It is so bad. I have found blogs talking about how bad it is. It is, and then have sent them to Zach as like, see, we're not the only ones. It is
do
so
children
awful.
like it or something? Is it a kid's song?
Mine do. No, it's like Train, but worse.
Ooh. Is Train the one who does that Hey Soul Sister song? I think so.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Also, Train is an appropriate thing to bring up for today's episode.
Exciting.
But yeah, Train is horrible. Why do they like this song?
Because one of their friends introduced them to it, and for some reason they like it. It has the stupidest lyrics. I cannot handle how stupid the lyrics are.
What are they like? Give
it
us
makes
a sample.
Me angry.
How many muskrats have sex?
0, to be fair.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Unless there's some real big metaphors I'm not understanding.
I was going to say, when I was their age, I got introduced to the New Kids on the Block, and I loved them. And I mean, is it just bias because it was my own interest? I don't think it's that bad. It's not good, New Kids on the Block,
No.
but it's fun.
Oh no. No,
It's
no, no,
pop
no,
music.
no.
No, this is much
No.
worse.
No. This is much worse. This is much worse. Um, let's see. By 11, smoking herb and drinking burning liquor. Never
No.
rich. So we were out to make that steady figure. Once I was 11 years old, my daddy told me, go get yourself a wife or you'll be lonely.
I'm sorry, I think 11's a little old for marriage.
Do you mean young?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, okay. The one that always really gets me, like this kills me. This is the stupidest thing I have ever heard. Is I made a man so happy when I wrote a letter once. I hope my children come and visit once or twice a month. It's just so bad. It kills me.
Oh, is the man his father? Did he
No,
write a
it's
letter
like
to his dad?
no, I don't know. I don't
Okay,
I don't
because
know.
at
He
first,
doesn't
before you got to the
elaborate.
letter, I thought like, ooh, was he like a male prostitute? And I was
Oh, no.
intrigued, but no.
No, because he
I just
wrote a letter once. That's it. There's no context.
there's
That's
no
it.
context.
Because it briefly kind of rhymes with month. Like
That's real
that's it.
bad. Yeah,
It's real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Man.
Anyway, I've been needing to get that out of my system
Yeah,
for a while.
yeah, that's
I
fair.
hate it so
Yeah.
much.
And speaking of New Kids on the Block, or as they briefly rebranded themselves, NKOTB, my
Mm.
stepson, I saw him last weekend, and he was playing this song called NKOTB by
Oh,
this French rapper named Soprano, and it's
oh,
awesome. It's super
really?
weird, and it's awesome. Yeah,
No
Quinn's
kidding.
gotten really into like rap in other languages, and
Cool.
it's awesome. I have a feeling that like if the song were in English, I probably wouldn't like it, but like it's in French and it's bizarre and it's like 30 different genres and it's cool.
Oh,
So
that's
I would
awesome.
recommend that. It's
Oh,
maybe
that's
you
much
should play it for
better.
your kids and they'll get into that if they know Quinn likes it, and then they won't listen to this other song.
Yeah, I mean, God only knows. We can
Maybe
only hope.
you
And
should
they
play your children Muskrat Love and maybe they'll like
no.
it.
Yes. You want to do that to me?
Kind of.
Well, then tell Zach because anything I
Yeah.
suggest, the only song I have ever suggested that they have liked because I suggested it, because typically
Mhm.
they just go against whatever I say and
Mhm.
hate whatever I suggest.
Maybe you should
Um,
really embrace this Lucas Graham song. You should make it your whole identity. You should get like a shirt
oh God.
and you should tell them, I hope you come and visit me once or twice a month after I marry you off next year when you turn 11.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
Oh, the only song they've ever liked
Oh,
because you liked it.
yes, is Last Night by The Strokes, which
Oh,
is a
that's
great
such a good
song.
song. That's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's
That's
just, it's
good.
so good that
It,
even if you're
like,
trying to spite your mother, you're
yeah.
still going to like it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't. I'm like, the more you talk about the song, although I haven't heard it, the more I think maybe Muskrat Love isn't worse than it. Like, at least it's about muskrats.
Yeah. I mean, it's at least, well, I'm
You
going to
know
have
what
to listen.
Muskrat
I
Love,
haven't
you
heard
know,
it.
the
I
vibe
can't.
of Muskrat Love is a afternoon delight.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah.
That's the vibe, more so
Yeah.
than the Robin Hood song.
I'll say I would way rather listen to Afternoon Delight than 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah. That at least makes me think of Arrested Development.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah. This just hurts.
Yeah.
So
Wow, it sounds horrible.
it is. Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Anything else before Nisei?
I do not believe so. I think
Okay.
that is all.
Great.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
nothing
excited.
spooky in my life or anything. Yeah, let's talk about Nisei, which was,
Yeah.
I mean, it's classic X-Files. It's really good. It has some stuff that I was like noticing with a modern eye that I'd never noticed before, because I think I watched it in the early 2000s. But overall, like, it's well done. And it ends on a heck of a note. So first of all, let's just talk about the opening scene because that alone, I took like a full page of notes on.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
crazy. Yeah. So we see this train going by, and the like engineer or whatever, they stop, and he decouples the last train car and leaves it in this train yard. The train goes off, and then we see the interior of the train car is a surgical suite, and there's men in like full PPE, but like with like major looking masks on, which I later find out are gas masks. Um,
Oh.
and so it's now nighttime, by the way. And so they're in there, they're doing something. Ooh, I forgot how they got in there because they weren't in there the whole time. Sorry. I took a whole page of notes and I didn't look at them. Didn't look at them. By the way, I watched this episode literally immediately before us recording this podcast. So any mistakes are especially bad. Night falls, the train is there alone. We see it has like a number written on the top of it. And then all these cars arrive and all of these Asian men get out of the car. And that's one of the things that I was like, Jesus God, it's the 90s. I mentioned they're Asian because we get the music cue that tells you they're Asian,
Oh,
like,
what? Really?
ooh, yeah, like mystery Asian music cue.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh
just a
gosh.
little like as if I could just imagine like the music director being like, oh, this is the scene where the Asians show up. Let's do this. Just add it in, and I
Oh
wasn't into
man.
that. That was irritating. It does become relevant that they're Japanese and they're speaking Japanese and they're in this surgical suite, they're in the PPE, they are doing some sort of procedure on a table, and then it pans out a little and we see that there's like a thing where you typically have like fluid, like I don't know, the fluids you put in a person. I don't know what the fluids are. We don't need to get into
What?
that. You know, you know,
I'm no, I don't know.
how like you're in the hospital and they're like, we got to put this goo in you. Here's a bag, and the bag's like hanging up,
Like a
and like,
fluid, like an IV bag?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
But it's got like green stuff in it, and it's either
Ah,
going into or coming out of the thing. So it's presumably an alien. When we see it kind of like goes to a different view and we see it's being recorded. And then we see, and I was not ready for this. Because I know you've watched this episode a lot. Do you remember
oh,
what
yeah.
happens next?
No, no, I like as you're saying it, I can picture everything and I've seen this a
Yeah.
bunch, but I couldn't, no, I don't know what happens next.
A SWAT team jumps on board and kills all the doctors.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no kidding.
I was not ready for
And
that.
now that you say that, yeah, and
Yeah.
I can remember part of what's coming up and what happens right before that or something. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And so they take away the bag or kind of body bag-ish thing of whatever's on the table, and you see it briefly, and it looks like an alien face.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Opening sequence. It just says the truth is out there. I was really hoping for a special message. Special message. You might get one next week. Um, and then we see that Mulder he's called Scully into the office, and all of a sudden I thought we always see Mulder sitting behind the desk, right? And Scully's
Yeah.
coming in and looking at something. Where's her office?
Oh, I thought they shared an office. I thought it was she has a desk. We see her, well, I don't know if we have yet, sit at like a different desk that's in that same
Okay.
room. But
Okay.
it's like more informally. Like I think it's like because I think it was his office.
Okay. Okay. Before she started being
Right, but
sent
now
to
it's
work
like
with him or
the
whatever.
X-Files office is
Okay.
my
Yeah.
impression. And I feel like I can picture her sitting at a desk that is like
Like to
kind
Mulder's
of,
left,
yeah,
kind of.
uh-huh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Hmm.
So Mulder has something on TV, and there's a lot of just like nice quippy banter between them. She's like, "Oh, it looks like you're watching something different than your usual entertainment,"
Uh,
and he's like, "Oh, I just got this tape in the mail, 29.95 plus shipping." And he explains that he answered an ad in the newspaper to order this videotape of an alien autopsy. And we
right.
see the
Hmm.
view from the camera. And Scully says, this is even hokier than the one they aired on the Fox network.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so I loved that. Which,
Do you have
like,
more information about to share with us?
yeah, so this pseudo documentary, it's called Alien Autopsy Fact or Fiction. It came out in 1995 and it was aired on Fox, and it's supposedly an alien autopsy conducted shortly after the Roswell incident.
Oh,
Um, and Fox showed it a few times, and it was an overnight sensation. It was thoroughly debunked. Um, Apparently, one of the things used in the autopsy was raspberry jam. The guy who produced it was a British entrepreneur named Ray Santilli, and he did not admit the footage was a fake until 2006, but he
Oh,
still insisted, no, no, I had real footage, but I lost it. Um, and it is worth Googling the alien autopsy fact or fiction so you can see the box cover because it is ridiculous. Um, yeah.
and so was this presented as fact? How was it
It
presented?
was, yes, it was presented as fact. I don't understand this, but somehow this Ray Santilli was also involved in a novelty song of what was
What?
called the Birdie Song in the United Kingdom, but we know it by another name. Would you
The
like to guess
chicken
what?
dance?
The Chicken Dance.
Ah, the
So
birdie
this,
song.
yeah.
That's great. And the cover to this is incredible. I mean, it's like the
Yeah.
worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, this is
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's that.
Okay. All right.
And so yeah, I mean, I don't really get it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they showed it and claimed it was true. I guess you can just do that. Somehow I felt like, well, you can't just do that, but I guess you can.
There was a horror movie Zach and I started watching once. I can't think of the name of it. It was actually about aliens, and alien stuff typically doesn't freak me out that bad,
Mhm.
as we've discussed. But it said there was like a thing at the beginning of it that said that like parts of it were found footage. And
Mhm.
for whatever reason, I believed it, like however it was presented.
Mhm.
And it freaked me out so badly that like we had to stop watching. And then I like Googled it and was like, okay, yeah, no, it's, obviously it's not
Ah,
actually
okay.
real. Um, but it was presented in such a way that I bought it briefly and was
Gotcha.
really scared.
Yeah, so I guess you can just lie about stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And fool even
At
me.
least one
I don't know.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, So Scully talks about how on Alien Autopsy they do what we were just talking about when we were talking about horror movies. They try to show too much, and that's what makes it so
Ah.
obviously fake. And Mulder's like, "There's a lack of detail here that makes me more convinced." And Scully's like, "Okay, so they don't show stuff, so that convinces you." And he's like, "I don't know. There's like, you know." Details that make it look right. And he bought it from some guy in Allentown who's selling the tapes. And he says he pulled it off a satellite at 2 a.m.
Okay.
So they go to Allentown and they go to the production facility where this guy was selling the tape. The door's been busted open. So they go in and they poke around and they find the guy murdered in his bed, and he's like got his hands bound, he's got a bag on his head, and he's face down. So
Oh,
again, bags on
yikes.
heads, bad idea unless they're just there to
Oh,
cover your hair.
yeah.
Um, Scully touches the body, it is still warm, and that's when they see there's a dude
Oh,
running out of the
yeah.
house.
That's
Yeah,
right. Oh,
yeah.
man. Okay. That's
So
right.
Mulder gives chase, and the guy has a briefcase, and Mulder is running after him. He catches him, holds him at gunpoint. What do you think the guy does?
Oh, does he beat him up or try
Yes,
to?
with martial arts, and he yells, and it's
Yeah,
again, I was just
that's
like,
right.
I don't know, it felt a little bit like, ooh, exotic Japanese people, and I didn't
Yeah.
love that. It wasn't like that, and the like musical notes were the only two things as far as some other, like, as we talk more about these characters and stuff, there wasn't anything else, but I was still just like, come on, 90s. I don't know.
Yeah.
um, anyway, Mulder has a secret other gun. He gets the guy at gunpoint. He takes the briefcase, takes him to Allentown Police Department. It is a typical police department in the middle of the night. There's a hooker. There's a person who looks drunk, whatever.
Oh,
And
God.
then there's Skinner walking in the door.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. and he's mad, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
"This was a high-ranking Japanese diplomat that you just arrested. His name is Kazuru Sakurai, and it's going to be handled outside our hands. You got to get out of here, go back to DC, and stop screwing stuff up."
Okay.
And
Huh.
so he's like mad, and Scully's like, "Look, this just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would a Japanese diplomat be in that house? Do you think
Yeah,
like
right.
are you gonna drop it?" And Mulder's like, "Oh, I deserve more than that for my 29.95." And he opens the trunk of the car, and he kept the briefcase.
Ah, that's right. Oh
Yeah,
God.
which like I just feel like, oh my God, Skinner's life must be so hard. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
having Mulder work for you would be so stressful. Like not
Yeah.
even keeping in mind all of the like conspiracy stuff that Skinner's dealing with. Um,
Yeah.
so this kind of kicks the episode into like two main paths it follows the rest of the time. They find in there satellite images of a big ship going through the Panama Canal and then up um, to the coast of the US, like in Virginia. And they also find a list of MUFON members, which is
Oh, right.
Mutual UFO Network. And one of them is Betsy Hagopian. Her name is circled, and they're
Right.
like, oh,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
I know.
I just
I
remembered.
know. I heard her name and I was like, oh, wait, Betsy Kogopian.
Yeah.
So the plan is Scully's going to stay there and investigate the MUFON members. Mulder's going to go back to DC. And he goes back and he sees the lone gunman.
Okay.
And he's wearing a turtleneck and he's dressed like The Rock in that like classic image of The Rock where he's in the turtleneck and the chain, except okay, he doesn't have a chain, but it's still, I don't know, a black turtleneck and high-waisted jeans. It was
Oh, that's funny.
weird. But they look over the satellite stuff with the lone gunmen do, and they're like, this is a ship called the Talipus. It came through the Panama Canal. We can't really figure out why it went to Newport News, Virginia. Um, they're not sure. And then it briefly cuts away to Sakurai, the guy who Mulder had chased. He's been
Right.
released into custody. He seems happy. Oh, these are his friends or whatever. He gets in the car, but oh, there's another guy in the back seat, and he kind of leans forward into the light. I don't know. It's some dude. He's a white dude. He's older. I don't think I've ever seen him before, but the reveal was such that I should have. Like, I thought it was going to be
Oh,
Cancer Man for how they revealed it. Uh, I don't
could it
know.
have been a member of the syndicate?
I
But,
didn't recognize him. He was a
huh.
little bit younger than the men of the syndicate.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
he was like, I should see if he's in any other episodes. Um, let me
But
check that really.
I'm assuming that what happens next is that he shoots him.
He kills him somehow. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, yeah, I don't see his. Oh, that's interesting. Sakurai is the last name of the actor. Yeah, Kazuo Sakurai is the character's name, but Yasuo Sakurai is the actor's
Oh,
name. Hmm.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Um, I do not see that guy. Wait, red-haired man? Was that him? Did he have red hair?
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess he did. Um, oh yeah, he's only in two episodes, so he's probably in 731, the next one you're gonna watch, and that's
Okay.
it. So we haven't
Okay.
seen him before. But yeah, he kills him. So now Sakurai's dead. Scully goes to the house of Betsy Hagopian, and a woman answers the door, and she's like, "Are you Betsy?" And she's like, "No, Betsy's not here." And Scully's like, "Well, could I get a hold of her?" And the woman's like, "I know you. We saw you. Penny, come here." And
Oh,
calls her friend over
yeah.
there, and she's like, "Oh my God, she's one of us." Yeah.
Creepy.
These women are weird. There's like,
Really?
yeah, like they're
I
so
mean,
normal, they're weird.
they're MUFON members. I mean,
Yeah,
is
but
that?
they're not like given the vibe of like Max, what was his last
Oh,
name?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
crazy UFO guy, or the lone gunman. Like they seem very normal, and that's almost what makes them so weird.
Huh.
So yeah, they're telling Scully like you were missing last year, weren't you? Like we recognize you. And so the episode sort of splits into Mulder searching for this ship, the Talipus, where Scully is at this very weird meeting and talking to these women, and it kind of then they come back together at the end. So we see that Mulder's at this shipyard in Newport News. He asks for info on the Talipus, and this guy goes to get him some info. Um, and then Scully's with these MUFON ladies, and they're like, "Oh, you probably don't remember us because it takes a while to remember things. Most of us have been taken many times to the bright white place." They all seem
Oh,
shockingly accepting of it. Like they're like, yeah, this is a thing that happens to us. Because like a bunch of other women have shown up for like a meeting, I guess. And they encourage Scully to get regression hypnosis, which I'll remind you, I just was mentioning how the APA officially says, do not do that. It is bad.
Yep.
Yeah, and so there's like 12 women there, and they're all just kind of talking to Scully about their experiences. Oh, the memories come back slowly. First, you remember the doctors.
Oh,
Yeah, it's creepy. Um, and so then we go back to the shipyard and we see that the guy who went to search for info for Mulder comes back and is like, Agent Mulder? And can't find him because Mulder is run off and is running about the shipyard.
oh, that's
And
right. Of
yeah,
course.
because that's what he does. Does a lot of running about. And he finds this other ship, but he discovers that they've like disguised the name of it and it's actually the Talipus. And then all these dudes with guns arrive, and they show up in three cars that all look like my first car, the 1984 Grand Marquis. They're like these enormous, boxy things. So they get out with guns. They board the ship. Mulder jumps into the water.
That's
Then we go
right.
back to Scully's creepy meeting, and they're like, "You have the mark, don't you?" And they all are like, "That's where they put the implant at the back of the neck." And they all get out their little implants that they've got in little bottles that they like keep in their purses.
Oh,
And they're all just really like, I don't know. Yes, you've got it. You're one of us. Like it was way
huh.
too mild as opposed to like, oh my God, we need to protect you. We're trying to figure out what's going on. It's so scary. It's like, it was more like, oh yes, yes, the men, they come and they take us.
Oh,
They do
yeah.
experiments on us.
Oh,
And
gosh.
and so Scully's like, why are you all at Betsy's house? Where is she? Oof. And then we find out Betsy is at the oncology ward of the hospital.
Yep.
I
Right.
had I had forgotten this. And yeah, the women are like, we're all dying because of what they do to us. In that
Right.
sort of tone. And they're like, well,
Weird.
Betsy's been taken like a bunch of times since she was a teenager, so that's why it's so bad for her.
Oh. And
Yeah.
is I mean, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Is the thought that like, are we going to get back to radiation again or
Nope,
no?
not
Oh,
today.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They just said because
I
of
was
what they
thinking
do.
like, okay. Okay. All right. Ugh,
I mean,
creepy.
yeah, I know. And I felt like, I mean, in a way, I feel like it makes sense because all sorts of weird shit causes cancer. I bought not jumper cables, but like a portable jumper thingy,
Oh, uh-huh.
like, two jumper cables and then it goes to a little box. And there's
Yeah.
like a warning on it about like, whatever 65 in California, don't
Oh,
use
yeah,
this.
yeah.
And I was just like, Jesus, it's just to jump a car. I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's
Um,
all sorts of like furniture things. I mean, it's like yeah, anything in high enough amounts. It seems like. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, so anyway, so it certainly seems reasonable that this would be the
right.
case with their weird experiments. So then we see Mulder in the dark
I'm
climbing
sorry. May
around and he's
I
wet.
interrupt to give a quick
Please,
PSA?
please.
I would just like to anyone who is listening, remind you all that there are some exposure to carcinogens that you can protect yourself from, like, wearing sunscreen, stuff like that, right? Not
Don't
smoking.
smoke. Yeah.
Right. But most of the time it's just genetic or a weird virus you caught, and there's like not like, so don't go crazy trying to, you know, not sit on furniture
Take
or,
sensible precautions while
yeah,
not
right.
torturing yourself about it. And also don't
Yes.
blame yourself if you get cancer for not figuring out every possible source of it.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Just
looked
wanted to
up
make
that
that clear.
like if you fly a bunch, your risk of cancer goes up because the atmosphere is thinner up there, and so cosmic rays can get to you more. And
Yeah.
so your risk of certain cancers goes up because of that. But the risk is still so small that it's like, yeah, it's a bigger risk, but we're still talking such teeny tiny numbers. And I'm
Right.
like, because
Yeah.
I fly a lot, so I think about
Yeah.
that. And I had an ex who once used that as an excuse for why he didn't want to travel at
Oh
all.
gosh.
So
Yeah. No, that
yeah,
doesn't pan
I
out.
mean, and that was just, I think, anxiety, not
Yeah.
anything, a real assessment, but yeah, stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's right. That's a thing that like there are certain things that are just, I mean, you can protect yourself against, but there are some things that you can't, and you can't let it drive you crazy, and you can't like not use jumper cables. Not that I'm saying that
Yeah.
you were going down that road, but just like in
No.
case anyone who's listening
Well,
was
I
like,
can't use jumper cables or something because it didn't work. So,
oh no, did your car die
yeah.
recently?
Nah, Quinn's did at our house
Oh
Saturday night
no.
after the bout, so that's what I had to deal with.
Oh
Yeah, so we had to have it
no.
towed. So I don't know what's going on there. It's a whole big thing.
Oh
Presumably
shoot.
by the time this episode airs, his car will be fine.
I
God, I
hope
hope so.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. God. So
Um,
Mulder is running away
Of
again?
course
What
he is.
happened?
He climbed out of the
Okay.
water. I just kept thinking
Okay.
he must be so cold, and like he was in like a long coat when he jumped in the water,
Oh
and he's
jeez.
since got rid of the coat, but like he's still in a suit. Like ugh. I don't
Yeah.
like wearing wet clothes, heavy wet clothes. So he's sneaking around this train yard, and he climbs up. He sees this big warehouse, and he looks through a window, and there's like a big thing covered with plastic white sheeting, and it looks like maybe an alien spaceship. There's all these people in like full white protective gear, and Mulder's watching. And it just occurred to me like how different this would be if they had smartphones connected to the cloud and they could just take pictures and send them to each other.
Yeah, for
Um,
real.
because like Scully at this point does not know where Mulder is.
Oh
Um,
God.
yeah, she knows he went back to DC. She doesn't know he's in Virginia. So Mulder goes back to DC, goes to his apartment. His door is open. So he goes in with
Ah.
his gun and he sees his place is in a shambles, like someone got in there looking for something. And Skinner is sitting in there.
Oh.
And Skinner's like, think they found what they were looking for. And is like, I came looking for you, but I was late to the party,
Oh.
apparently. And so Skinner is like, okay, so Sakurai was murdered, and the Japanese diplomatic community is like, he was murdered for a briefcase he was carrying. Any idea where it
Oh.
is? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And Mulder, I thought he would lie, but he was like, oh, it's in the trunk of Scully's rental car. She's in
Oh.
Allentown.
Oh.
And he's
All
like,
right.
well,
That
you
seems a
better
little
go
bit
get
like
it.
throwing Scully under the bus.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Skinner basically is like, look, you're in some really big stuff. You're not taking it seriously. You're on your own. I'm not helping you. And he leaves. And then Mulder goes to Richard Matheson, the senator who enjoys Bach, as we know from a
Oh,
few previous
yes.
episode. Um,
Yeah.
and Matheson is like, yeah, you have a briefcase. I know about this. You got to give it up. And Mulder's like, no, it has this important information. Again, just take some photos of it. They did have cameras in 1990, whatever, five or six.
Yeah.
Um, I
True.
don't know. But Matheson is like a good chess player, knows when to give up a piece. And he says, do you trust me? And Mulder's like, which is fair.
Yeah.
And because, as we know, trust no one.
Yeah.
So Matheson gives Mulder the names of these four doctors who were murdered. And
Okay.
so now the two plots kind of converge. They're back in Mulder's or both of their offices, whatever. And Scully starts telling Mulder all about the MUFON stuff. And I thought he was a little dismissive of just how incredibly freaky this must have been for Scully.
Oh,
And
really?
he's like, but you're fine, aren't you? You don't have cancer. Like, you're fine, right, Scully? And and
Yes, I have like a portable PET scanner that I like.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he looks at the chip and he's like, well, I wouldn't freak out until you know what this is. There's no good answer for what it
No.
is. I think it's
Yeah.
okay to freak out and be like, well, I was abducted, and when I came back, I had this thing in my neck, and all these women recognized me. Like,
Yeah.
I think
No,
it's
that's
okay if you
pretty
freak
weird.
out then. That seems like a really good time to freak out.
So she had it removed, right?
Yes. Yeah. So she's
Okay.
got it
Okay.
in another little
Yep.
plastic, neck chip container.
Yeah.
Standard thing. So Mulder has this picture of these Japanese doctors and it's like an old looking picture, like it's from World War II. And Scully's like, I know that guy on the end. I know him. And Mulder's like, well, he died decades ago, so you don't know him. And these doctors are part of an experiment, or were part of an experiment during World War II called 731,
Okay.
which is real
Right.
and is real bad.
Did you
Real
consult
bad.
with our
Our
resident
resident historian. No,
historian? Yeah.
the historian was at the grocery store.
Ah.
No, but I did Google it to remind me because I felt like I'd heard of it. And this is one of those things that like there's certain aspects, lots of aspects of Adam's job that like if I ask questions, he'll be like, you don't want to know about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he knows how upset I get. And like
Uh,
he'll like, have some book open. I'll be like, what's that about? And he'll be like, you don't want to know because it's like about, the Armenian genocide or something. Like,
Oh, wow.
it's like it's so grim. Like, it's so grim. I will say this because it's kind of relevant to this and also relevant to you. The only time I've seen him get like worked up about something, and it's possible that it's because it was new information to him and like all this other stuff he already knew, but it's also possible there was just something about it that made him mad, is doing research for the history of medicine class that he's teaching,
Oh,
and reading about experiments done by like big universities in like the 90s, that were incredibly shitty and dishonest and terrible. And I mean, of course, had, a uniformly bad outcome for the people involved and mostly involved people of color, of course. And it's like, how is this the 90s? Like he was in college at this point. Like he was
oh man. Yeah.
real mad. And like I said, like I never see him get mad about history stuff because I think he's just, knows it already, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, 731, it's like the Japanese version of like Mengele's experiments and stuff.
Ugh.
And it's really horrible. And so in X-Files world, these doctors who died were part of that work. And
Okay.
so they just died, which I mean, it's just a reminder of like the 90s was a long time ago at this point, which is weird because it doesn't feel that long ago.
No, it doesn't. This actually, so last night, me and William went to the grocery store. And a reminder, he's my 10-year-old.
Yes.
I know you know this.
Right. It's not the dog. Okay.
And we spent a lot of money on groceries, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, that's like," and was kind of like shocked by how much money groceries are. And I was like,
fair.
Uh-huh. And he said something like, would this have been cheaper, a long time ago or something? And I was like, yeah, but, also like, I think he said when I was a kid. And I was like, well, but
you are? When you were a kid. I thought you meant when William was a kid. No. And I was like, hold on there, buddy. All right, gotcha. Yeah.
And I was like, yes, but they also didn't have a lot of this stuff. Like I bought like some, for Thanksgiving, I bought like some gluten-free croissants and, some like specialty stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it would have all been cheaper, but also some of this is new. So, and he was like, when was Baba born? And I said, our dad is what, and I said, 1956. And he said, oh, would you have, wanted, to live in 1960, I think is what he said. Like meaning like, because groceries would have been so much cheaper. Like our dad has told him stories about like how much McDonald's used to cost and how much gas would cost, Yeah. And I was like, well, I mean, the prices would be nice, but like I wouldn't want to live in 1960 for a lot of other reasons.
Yeah.
And I told him, for example, like, well, Black people couldn't really vote until 1965. And I mean, he's 10. I'm not going to get to the get into the details of that. And he was horrified, suitably. And he was like, well, what about 1970? And I was like, well, no, because I wouldn't have, been able to have my own credit card without dad giving me permission.
Oh my God.
And, and this kept going on until eventually he said like 1985. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, all right. Like, I'll live in 1985.
Yeah.
Fine.
But like also
I basically did.
No, I don't want to live in 1985.
No, I mean,
first of all, there is more prejudice and like, think about stuff for gay people, etc. But also, oh God, the clothes, the food, the music.
Well, I know, but yeah.
I get the point that like bad stuff existed for way more recent than we realize.
Yes.
But I think like even watching this episode of The X-Files, I'm reminded that like I tend to think of the 90s as basically modern. And they aren't, I tend to be like, that's the 90s are like, they just happened. But like, we're 25 almost years away from the 90s. Like,
that's crazy.
If you think about when you were 25, think about the era before you were born and how far away it seemed.
Yeah.
Like,
I also wasn't going to get into the details. At one point, I think one of the things I said was like, no, because I wouldn't have had, total control over my medical decisions. And, we can talk about how
Oh God.
Terrible
Oh
it is
God.
to
Yeah.
also live in 2024. But for the
Yeah.
point of this being that, like, in recent memory,
Yeah.
things are not
Absolutely.
just like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
So,
and it's also perfect that you bring this up as I'm just finishing my edits on my YA novel Timeless, which
oh,
involves a girl going into 1963 through time travel. And
yeah,
yeah, thinking about this stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so my point was, holy cow, there were dudes who were doctors in the World War II who were like out and about and operating on aliens in the 90s. And it's like, I think of like a World War II vet would be incredibly old nowadays. And it's like, I
Yeah,
forget that like that's not the case because the
right.
90s are not actually that recent. It just
Yeah,
tricks me. Um,
yes.
so so Scully is like, I know that guy, and Mulder's like, you can't, it doesn't make sense. Um, so we probably all know where that's going.
Yes, we
And
do.
yeah, and so Scully goes to talk to this one young tech guy who looked familiar to me. Like I suspect he's been in other episodes, and he's like, oh, it's a microprocessor. They're getting used in everything nowadays, and I've never seen one this advanced. And she's just kind of looking at it, feeling creeped out. Um, and uh, and so then we see while she's working on that, Mulder is at a train yard in West Virginia. And I did kind of notice this, like, again, I think subtle gender dynamics of the time that are like Scully was such a like great figure for women, as we've talked
Yeah,
about, with like this smart, active medical doctor, all this knowledge, badass. But also it just sort of naturally falls along these lines of like Scully is doing the stuff that involves like talking and background research, and Mulder is the one who runs all over and does the active stuff. So Mulder is running along a roof of some building on this train yard, and he's like watching trains, and he's got little binoculars, and he sees a train car with numbers on the top, which I don't think was the same train that we saw in the beginning, but it has the same look to it. And
okay.
then he sees a big white van and two cars pull up, and these Japanese men get a alien. It looks like they get a living figure all covered up, but you can kind of see it's alienish
Oh,
off the van and into the train car. And
I'm
then the
sorry.
train departs.
How did he get to a train yard? I can't remember. I mean,
So he learned from Richard Matheson that there's like an underground network of trains that move aliens around the
oh,
country. Okay, we don't
okay.
actually hear Matheson say that, but Mulder kind of says that to Scully. And
Okay.
so he's how did he figure out this is the train yard to go to? I got nothing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But he's there and he's on a roof and he
All
witnesses
right.
all of this.
Got it.
And Scully is then watching the autopsy video, and she's watching it slow-mo, slowed down, and there's a part where one of the doctors removes his mask, and indeed, it's that guy she recognized from the picture, but way older,
Yikes.
who they thought was dead. No, he's alive. He's in the video. He's old. He's not one of the ones who was killed, apparently. And because I thought everybody was dead when I watched the video and all those guys came in.
Hmm.
His name's Ishimaru, and then she remembers he's one of the doctors from her experiments. And those women even said, "Oh, you remember the doctor's faces first."
Creepy.
Yeah. Um, and so then Mulder calls, Scully tells him all this and is like, "Yeah, he's on your video, but that's not how I know him." And then we see a train station. There's a younger Japanese guy who's one of the ones who had been involved in that little transfer. He's walking around the station. We see Ishimaru walking around the station. And then we see that white dude who murdered Sakurai. He's
Okay.
there. He kills the young guy and then leaves. And then Mulder arrives and runs in and asks for the express train to Vancouver, but he missed it, just missed it. Unclear how he specifically knew that was the train. Maybe it was
Okay.
given in details, but look, I just watched the episode. It must have been quite subtle. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
so so Mulder just missed the train. So then we see Scully
Okay.
going home. Someone's waiting in the shadows. Guess who it is?
Krychek?
No,
Oh, was it
it's
X?
X. It was X. And I was
Oh,
just
no
like,
kidding.
finally, this is my time. This is
Oh,
my time with
I'm
X.
so glad.
Yeah, and I love him. That actor is so good. And he's
Oh,
so
yeah.
like scary, like you just don't know if you should trust him. And he's so intense. And yeah, he's just great.
Oh
Um,
man.
and so he's like, Mulder is in danger. He's about to get on a train. You have to stop him. Do not let him get on that train. They know what he's doing.
Oh God.
And Scully's like, why should I trust you? You've lied to us before. And he's like, you're wasting time. You have to get a hold of Mulder and stop him. So he's in her apartment and Scully calls Mulder and he answers his cell phone and he's like, he's driven. I'm sure you remember this scene.
Oh, I do. Yep.
Yeah. He's driven to this like kind of like bridge overpass over like train tracks. And Scully's like, do not get on that train. They know where you are. They know what you're doing. Don't get on the train. The train passes underneath the bridge. Mulder jumps off the bridge onto the top of the train and drops his cell phone.
Oh my God. Yeah.
To be continued.
Yeah, I remember very clearly the like phone dropping, like, do not get on the train. And he's jumping and oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. God, yeah. What a pain in the ass to work with.
Yeah,
I
right?
mean, like,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
God.
I mean, like, you're just like, hey, these things, like, I just need you to not do this. Yeah.
Yeah. It
yeah.
reminds me of being like, Hugo, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. Stop what you're doing. You're going to hurt yourself. And then he hurts himself. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that,
except he's like
on a
30
larger
something.
scale. Yeah. And I mean, at the same time, you're watching and it comes out where Mulder is usually in the right, like,
right.
sort of,
Yeah.
at least typically,
Yeah.
which
We were
I
just
feel
talking
like,
about this.
yeah, where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I guess that is the right move to make.
Yeah, this
I
doesn't seem
also
like that.
I also looked up, this episode was inspired by the existence of this Unit 731.
Okay.
And the episode's title refers to the term Nisei, meaning the son or daughter of an Isai, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, couple born outside of Japan. So, in other words, it's like the first generation of Japanese immigrants who are born in the US.
Oh.
Why is it called that? I do not know.
No, that makes sense to me.
Does it?
Because it's like the project has come to America. That it's like the first that it was in Japan.
Okay. Yeah,
that's where
that does make sense. Oh, that's good. I didn't get that. Yeah.
Oof.
Apparently, like, there's like some expert, Jan Delisara, who's written a book about the X-Files and talks about how this episode is one of the like prime examples of showing like the Americans like trust in scientists eroding and like how science can be evil and stuff. And it's like,
interesting.
it's tough because I completely get it, but then I also think of all the people who are like anti-vaxxers and I'm like, can't we just be a little bit more discerning? I don't know. I don't want stuff like this to contribute to stuff I hate, only to stuff I like, which sounds hypocritical.
Right. Well, I mean, I know, because I think we've talked about like the whole chip implanting thing, right? And how like it's like a thing in the X-Files that they talk about. We don't actually think that there are chips in the vaccines or whatever.
Right.
Yes. That like, yeah. And I can see how, I mean, so her point is that this is part of when we start to see Americans trusting science less.
Or that it kind of, not that that's because of this episode, but that this episode reflects that growing feeling that like we can't trust doctors blindly or trust the government blindly, that like this show really shows that. Yeah.
And like, no, you shouldn't, but also like you should trust some people and more than just like random YouTubers.
Yes. Yes. The neighbors across the street from me have Halloween decorations that have like a bunch of like fake graves and stuff. You know how people do with like punny names, but one of the graves says, "I did my own research." Yeah. It was like, whoa, that's a bold move from the neighbors across the street.
I like it.
Kind of awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are experts for a reason. You should listen to them, but don't follow people blindly. But like, just because someone is a doctor doesn't mean they're like on the up and up. But
it's a more nuanced take on things that maybe, I don't know. is more difficult, but I don't know. And
At
also,
a liberal arts college, we talk a lot about how we have to teach our students how to learn, that our job is not to teach them things, but to teach them how to teach themselves and how to discern information
oh, that's
and
so
how to
good.
like, yeah,
I don't work at
yeah.
a liberal arts college. We talk about them getting jobs as engineers.
Oh, I mean, there's also a lot of job preparedness.
Mm.
But also like how it's more important for people to be able to like know where to find good information and know
That's
how
so
to like,
good.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that is a real
yes,
skill. I
it
mean,
is.
yeah.
Unfortunately, one a lot of people are not great at.
And I mean, it is a lot easier to just Google something or go on YouTube and whatever.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. And the number of times I have had students in my class Google stuff and be like, well, this says this. And I'll look and it's like the AI thing at the top
oh
of Google
God.
now
Yeah.
saying something. And
Yeah.
I'll be like, no, that's wrong, though. Like, that
Yeah.
is that,
Yeah.
just straight up. And I'll be like, look in a textbook.
Yeah, like
That
there's
is
no
wrong. Like,
person who has decided this is true. Like, you know,
yeah.
AI is just like regurgitating stuff, and that includes a
Yeah.
bunch of trash. You know,
Yeah.
there's like no filter that's set up or
Right.
whatever.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah. I
sources, even, or like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
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 Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been also talking a lot about using like AI in the classroom and students
Mm-hmm.
using AI. It's like a whole big thing, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure you're getting a lot of as well.
Sort of, except I make my students like they're doing because it's a flipped class, so they do all their work in front of me basically, and so they
Oh,
really
nice.
can't. And so sometimes they will Google it and they'll be like, I don't get this. And like for the most part, I could see if they're like on their computers in ChatGPT entering the problems I wrote, like I would notice. And so
Yeah.
occasionally I'll see that, but like the one time I remember it happening, them calling me over and being like, okay, I looked this up as a starter while I was waiting to ask you a question, but it doesn't make any sense to me. And
Oh,
like, it wasn't, I can't remember if it was outright wrong because I have found some outright wrong stuff, but I teach intro physics. It's mostly correct, but it often has context that doesn't make sense,
yeah.
or it's like it's not explaining something right, or it's not explaining something at all. And I'm like, no, you need to
Yeah.
know how this comes together and like what are the principles initially. It's again kind of that how to learn thing, but in a much more
Yeah.
boring way.
I
Um,
mean, only because it's physics, not,
That's what I mean. Yeah. I love physics, but I'm aware that
Yeah.
like when people have interesting conversations about what they teach, it's not, you know. I did find that like Google's AI knows about my book and like will produce the correct
Oh,
stuff, but if you go into Chat GPT and you look up my book, it tells you all sorts of bullshit. It claims it's the first in a series of many books about Millie Novak. And
really?
yeah, and it's like all about her becoming more confident. It never mentions roller derby. I asked it, what's book two about? And
Yeah, for real.
it gives some made up generic sounding stuff. And it's like, you know how it sounds? It sounds like when a student is answering an essay question and doesn't know the answer and has to write down something.
Yeah. Yeah. I yes,
Like it
I in
doesn't have the
fact have
smarts to be
been
like, I don't see any evidence of there being a second book. Like,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I have been having problems with students of mine using ChatGPT to write essays.
Oh God, I
I
hear
had
about
to
that
have a
happening.
whole conversation with my students about like, please don't do this to me,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, right? It's like so much more work when you realize
yes.
like, ugh.
Yeah. Just please. And I had a student who was upset, rightly, because like she did pretty poorly on an
Mhm,
exam that included an essay portion that they had to turn in separately. So that's how they
mhm,
had cheated.
mhm.
And she was like, yeah, it's frustrating because like I just did poorly.
Yeah,
Like, and I took my grade.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
like anyway,
Ugh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
I don't love it. Do not love it.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. You should
Okay.
not trust that stuff. Yeah, just like
No.
having some
Right.
discernment or whatever.
Discernment. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, knowing where to find sources. Also weird stuff. I mean, like AI can be super racist and super like we
Because it
did
just
an experiment.
like produces the same biases that are in the material that it used. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We in an all faculty meeting when we were talking about this, we all pulled up different AI things and all asked about an example of classic rap music or seminal rap stuff.
Interesting.
It always brought up Eminem.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Ask if they'd mentioned what's his name? Slick Rick? I feel like Slick Rick should get brought up. Anyway, that's really weird. And
yep.
I mean, okay, that's super. You know what it sounds like is somebody, there's lots of stuff written by people who are way younger, don't know what they're talking about, and are focusing on him because he's white. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously super influential, but
absolutely.
that's not what you should bring up for the classic origins of rap. Jesus.
Right. Yeah. When you think of rap, you should not think of Eminem. I mean, he could be in there somewhere.
But yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So there's lots of problems.
Yeah.
Lots of problems. But yeah, next week, presumably Mulder is on the train.
Yeah, on top of the train, which is so scary. And also kind of makes me want to write a physics problem about it.
Oh, yeah. See? Yeah. I mean, not see. I was the one calling physics boring, but
see, physics is exciting. People are on top of trains. Because, I just keep thinking, what's the coefficient of friction between his clothes and the surface of that train?
Oh, man.
He drops straight down onto it, so that's good. I don't know. I have some concerns.
Yeah. As you should.
Yeah.
He's got real sticky shoes, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he lands on his stomach. He's not
he's
kind
okay.
of now he must
not
eventually
a cat or something.
No. He's surfing on top of it. Yeah.
That's what I was picturing. Okay.
So 731 should be the follow-up to that, which will probably make us feel like we have answers that we really don't. So
yes, as always. Great. All right. Until next time then. Bye.
Bye.
We Want to Believe is hosted by Helen Werner and Liz Holden. It's produced by Zach Werner. The We Want to Believe theme music was created and recorded by Zach Werner. Find us at wewanttoBelievePod.com, on Instagram at wewanttoBelievePod, or send us an email at wewanttoBelievePod@gmail.com.